Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today is going to be the greatest day of your life. I'm a very in my head kind of person. I guess you could say I mentally replay scenarios all the time. And I do it not to scare or beat myself up, but to try to understand them better. I have been known to wring every element out of them until they have nothing left to offer. You ever do that yourself? I tell you, I've been like this my whole life. As a kid, I can remember my English teacher telling me I was an old soul. And my mom constantly alluding to my happy-go-lucky cousin, but then there was me. She would always remind me that my thinking face looked like a scowl, and it would become wrinkled before its time. And other people, you ever have people tell you when you were younger, if you keep having a face like that, it's going to stay that way, or whatever. That was so funny. But, it's funny how we hear these things from people as we're growing up, and then we remember them, and it's just kind of cute to think back on some of the stuff that was said to us as children. If you keep your face like that, it'll get wrinkled, and it'll stay that way forever, But here's the deal. So, because that's the type of feedback I used to get when I was younger, I began to wish I wasn't so in my head. I would see people move from one moment to the next as if they never lived in the previous moment at all. People like that? And I dream of that lightness of being, that carefree feeling of having said or done something and then just left it at that. And I just never could leave it at that as I was growing up. I'd always constantly rerun it through my head, and you might think it's overthinking, but I was actually trying to understand the details of the scenario, and maybe I picked that up after being in the hospital for so long. Doctors would come in and say things to me, and it would scare me, and I'd have to garner an additional understanding about the events and the situation. Until I understood it, the fear would still be there, and I would still run it through my head. And but as I become older, I've started to own this part of myself for two reasons. One, with age, I think we become like a little more careless, a little more careless. We care less and less about what other people think. You're older now, you're done hating, you're done rejecting and apologizing for parts of yourself that others don't like. And then you twist yourself like a pretzel to fit into norms and expectations that never consider your personal joy. And I get tired of that. That's one reason why we run corporate infrastructure in a different manner in our organizations, because I got tired of everything that we did from a business standpoint, from the way we dressed to the way we behaved, having been determined by previous generations. And you know what? We don't live in their generation. I don't live in my grandpa's world. I live in my world. So I decided I needed to start doing things the way I needed to do them, and that meant owning what's going on up in here. And also because I find the world is just full of incessant external noise, and my reflections are the one thing that keeps me guided to my true self. I become aware of not just what worked and didn't work. I also get to connect the feelings I had in those situations and experiences. And for me, that's really important. I get to ask myself what those feelings were trying to tell me. And I get to question the lessons I learned growing up and the stories that I believe to be true in all circumstances. And here's the deal. Stories are meant to be challenged, and rules are meant to be broken. And I find that many of us who do so are simply rebelling against the old stories because they don't sit well with us any longer. And it's true. You have to remember, we don't live in our grandparents' economy, so we shouldn't be behaving as if we do. And I think a lot of financial distress and issues around finances or around life circumstances become burdensome because we're attempting to live in our parents' world. We need to grow up. We need to think about the world around us and live in our world, live in the present, in our circumstance. And the opposite of a false story doesn't make it a true story. And the truth is always far more nuanced. And my truth can only come from me, just like your truth can only come from you. Just a couple of hours ago, a couple of men came to our house from a local business to pick up an item that I wanted to return. And the delivery and pickup people I often see are so young, with energy and the hunger of big dreams and expectations in life. You can see it in their faces. But these two men that showed up, they were different. They were older, but their faces had a different look. The eagerness wasn't for more advancement, but what I was getting from them was that they wanted more connection. And I've seen that look before and often thought about it, and I believe it comes from the whiplash of life and the innate desire to be seen by other people. I wanted to invite them in, offer them a warm drink, and talk to them about their lives a little bit, or just have some good conversation. But I knew it wasn't wise and practical for me to be inviting people into our home. And, friends and relatives and neighbors is good, but these guys had work to do and pickups and deliveries to fulfill, and, the whole thing is, as I was growing up, we all learned be wary of strangers, right? And there is certainly some truth in that lesson, but it's not the whole truth, We can always make people feel seen. It is incumbent upon us to do so, and perhaps the most important and fulfilling work that we've been given to do as long as we live on this planet. It's part of being a successful individual, making others feel welcome and seen and listening to what they have to say. And I did what I could. I looked them in the eye. I asked them about the weather. You always seem to talk about the weather when you don't have much else to say. I even joked about the package being heavy. Everybody does that. Because laughter, in my opinion, is such an instant connector, right? It gave them, and then when they were done, I gave them a nice tip, and I told them, get something small for your family. And then, it's nice when you give people something in return for the effort they provided to you. Because these gentlemen had happy voices as they walked down the corridor away from me, and I just couldn't help but smile to myself. This is a story that happened today, and this is as a result of some journaling that I've done. I believe that journaling about our experiences moves us from the realm of emotions to that of the soul. It helps us make sense of our lives and stay true to ourselves by connecting to our voice and what we have to say and contribute. And I think that anybody can be successful at journaling. You can practice it daily, weekly. You could even do a quarterly review of your experiences. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but there are a few questions that you can utilize to guide you. My grandmother grew up in a small town in Nebraska. And one cool thing I always thought as I was growing up as a child is she kept a calendar on the wall. And the calendar had a ton of writing in it. And as I looked at the calendar, I knew that it wasn't for me. It was definitely something that she was doing for herself. But I would see my name several times in the calendar. And what she would do every morning is wake up, and on this calendar, she would journal about the previous day's events. And I don't know where those calendars are today, but I can only imagine the incredible wisdom that would be imparted upon people, if we could just go back and read those years of scribbles that she put down. I'd like to go back and maybe relive some of the circumstances of my life through her eyes. But journaling is something that can provide you immense value. And when you're journaling, you should ask yourself, how did that situation make me and others feel? Another way you can get the conversation going in your mind is ask yourself, what does this point to, remind me of, or teach me about life? Are there changes I can make to how I show up or what I pursue? And can this be of value to someone I know? Friends, I want to just ask you to please keep listening to your soul with curiosity and courageously tweak how you show up so that your life is a gift to the world and a legacy that you're proud to leave behind. And when we journal out our thoughts and ideas and the activities that we've engaged in, we impart upon ourselves a new understanding that's going to give us value and assist us in building a better practice of decision making. We can be better. You can be better. I can be better. And that all will come much easier through understanding. give journaling a try. As growing up, I think it was more popular when we were older. People would do what? They would keep a diary. And you always wanted to get into your sister or your brother's diary and see what they had said about you or about life or anything else. We can still keep a diary. You know what? We can still remind ourselves of how great we are, what we've been engaged in. The story of our life can be amazing and beautiful if we reread what we've journaled and we're not proud of what we did or proud of where we were or proud of the circumstances that currently surround us. Now we would have an incredible opportunity to make changes. And it's through these changes that we can build the incredible and beautiful life that you and I both deserve to have. I care about you. I believe in you. I just wanted to toss this idea of journaling out there with you and maybe share a little story. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen, have a beautiful day. I will be back tomorrow with some really great stuff. Let's keep walking down this road together. Let's keep supporting each other. And let's keep building the type of life we both deserve to have. I care about you, and I know if anybody is worth it, you are. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Take care.